Thank you for that very kind and warm introduction. I have this irrational fear of podiums, so I'm going to move around here if that's okay. I am so excited to be here tonight. This is incredible. I had heard a lot about the Tooele Arts Festival. I had no idea you've been doing this for 33 years. That's remarkable. And I have to say that I feel very confident. We have 240 cities in Utah, towns and cities. I am pretty sure there's not another mayor that could do what your mayor just did. So Mayor Wynn, thank you. That was incredible. I was just blown away. What was not mentioned in my bio is I'm also in a band, and so maybe next year our band could come and play. I mean, this stage looks awesome, and I appreciated the music the band was playing before, but I am really excited to be here. I'm especially excited because it's Flag Day, and we get a chance to honor the men and women who have served our country and served our flag and preserved us a nation. And when I got asked to speak, knowing that it was Flag Day, I couldn't pass up this opportunity. I never thought we would live in a time where the flag would become controversial. That's just crazy to me. But before I get started, I promised somebody that I would make a little plug, and I'm going to do that right now for Chris Sloan, a friend of mine. Some of you may know this already, but he is part of a 501c3 here in Tooele that is raising money for a statue to go in the Veterans Memorial Park area. And this statue is to honor veterans and those who have taken their own life. Unfortunately, suicide among our veterans is far higher than the national average. It's something we're desperately concerned about. In fact, the governor has asked, excuse me, the governor has asked, we have a suicide prevention task force, and we're working specifically this year to focus on some subgroups that have higher levels, and one of those are our veterans. A terribly sad statistic, but a veteran, over 20 veterans every day in this country take their own lives. They come back with the trauma from what they've witnessed in war, and struggling to come back and deal with that trauma that is here, and we lose far too many of them. This is a great opportunity for you to donate if you can. They're trying to raise $50,000 for this statue. They're very close. They only need, I think, 5,000 or 6,000. They're not very close. No, they need all of your money right now. They need all $50,000 of it today, and so we need your help. It's Life's Worth Living is the name of the 501c3, okay? And you can go to their Facebook page, LWL, Life Worth Living, LWL Veterans Memorial on Facebook. If you search for that, you'll be able to find it. You can make your donation there. I'm going to go make my donation, and I hope all of you will too, because this is such an important event. And as we were talking about that, and I thought about what I might say today, I just wanted to share a couple stories, and then I want you guys to go spend the money you don't donate there on the vendors out here, and I'm going to eat some food that hopefully is terrible for me tonight. I'm looking forward to that. But when I was a kid, I also want to recognize I got a chance to meet every one of our Girl Scouts, our Cub Scouts, and our Boy Scouts that helped with the flag ceremony. I want to thank you guys for the service that you performed today. That is such a big deal, to give us the opportunity to pledge allegiance to this flag, and you made that happen. And so I want to thank you. When I was about your age, just a little bit older, the age of some of these Boy Scouts, when I was 12, I became a Boy Scout, and I went to middle school, and I joined the band, and I learned to play the trumpet. And it was a cool experience, because when I was 13, I was good enough that I could play taps. All right. So taps is a song that we play. It's a very reverent song, and it's often played at the funerals of military veterans when they pass away. A very somber song, and they would ask me to play the trumpet at these funerals. I was just a scrawny little kid, and often the funerals were in the winter. And it was mentioned, I live in Fairview. For those of you that don't know, Sanpete County, right in the middle of the state. You may know where Manti or Ephraim are. Those are the big cities. I live in Fairview. Fairview's a little bit smaller than that, about 1,200 people. And so oftentimes I would be standing in this cemetery in the dead of winter, trying to keep my lips warm and my little trumpet warm, just shaking. and these families would be there, and there would be a coffin there with a flag laid out over the top of it. And then I would get to play taps, and I would see the tears from the loved ones of the person that had passed away. And I don't think I appreciated it as much at the time, but I knew that there was something very special about that. And it made me appreciate when I saw that flag, and then they would fold up the flag and they would present it usually to the widow who was left, and she would take that flag, and then they would take that home to remember. And then I started dating an incredible woman when I got a little bit older. I ended up marrying her, my wife Abby, and I got to meet her grandpa. And I want to tell you a little story about him. His name was Duffy Palmer, and Duffy was a man's man. He had a giant tattoo of an anchor on his arm that he had removed, but he got that tattoo of an anchor because he was a Marine when he joined the military in long time ago in 1940 something. Okay, early on, World War II was raging. And he and his brother decided that they needed to go and they needed to fight for our country. He was married at the time. His wife was pregnant, and he left anyway, and he went out to serve. Well, as they were both serving, it was really cool. He and his brother got to serve in the same platoon together. And my wife's grandfather, Duffy, became the platoon leader. And they, unfortunately, they got their orders, and they shipped out, and they went to an island known as Iwo Jima. Okay, now many of you have probably heard of the Battle of Iwo Jima. He didn't like to talk about it very often, but once in a while he would open up and tell us kind of what happened there. I don't think, if you've never served in that type of venue, none of us can really understand what they went through. Their mission, now imagine, this was an island that had been taken by the Japanese, a very strategic island, a small island. There weren't any cities there. It was basically just an island to have war. There was a place to land planes there, but it was very important as they were fighting the Japanese. The Japanese were holding this island, and their job was to go and take the island back. Now, the Japanese had put in these bunkers, they had put artillery in there to send shells to bomb the Allied forces when they land, and the Americans when they landed. And to know, they had to calculate the distance, how far to shoot their artillery. And so what they did was, before the Americans got there, they put these flags and these stakes in the ground to mark how far out they were. So at 100 meters and 200 meters and 300 meters, they would place these bombs. So as the forces were approaching, they could dial up the trajectory of this artillery and know, okay, they're 300 meters away. So they would calibrate that and shoot at 300 meters and blow people up. That's what they had to do. Well, can you imagine? And by the way, they also had sniper rifles to protect these positions. Well, the platoon leader, my wife's grandfather, Duffy, they got their orders. And their orders were to go and take out those flags so they wouldn't know how far they were shooting. Well, trained on every one of those flags were snipers who didn't want those flags removed, because then it would be hard to know how far they were going to shoot. So basically, this was a suicide mission, right? Sorry, I get a little emotional. Duffy didn't want his platoon to die. And being the type of man that he was a boxer, he was a judo instructor, he was a tough guy. And he said, you guys stay here, I'm going to go take those flags out. And when I die, next man up, right? So he took off. And he got the first one, and he got the second one, and he got the third one, and bullets are flying all around him, and bombs are exploding all around him. These artillery shells are firing, and he's weaving in and out, and there's foxholes all around, and then it hits, and he takes a bullet right through the chest, right? And he falls down into a foxhole, and everyone assumes that the Duffy's gone and the Duffy's dead. Well, you remember I told you his brother joined the Marines with him, and his brother was in the same platoon. And his brother was not the second in command. And if any of you join the military, never do what his brother did in this situation. he received orders from the next in command, do not go to your brother. We've got to leave him. He's gone. We just have to move on and fulfill the mission. And he said, sorry, sir, that's my brother. I'm out of here. And against all the odds and the best orders, he sprinted across the sniper fire in the field, and he dove into that foxhole. And his brother was still alive, but he was fading very quickly. And he applied first aid, everything he had learned, trained to try to stop the bleeding, get things stopped. Miraculously, and to this day, no one knows how this happened except divine intervention. His brother made 3 trips across that field of fire to get medical aid and deliver it to his brother, and saved his life. He was in that foxhole bleeding out for about 24 hours before they could finally get him evacuated. In the meantime, a telegram had actually been sent home to tell his wife and family that he had been killed in action. The good news is a second telegram was sent just minutes later saying, wait a minute, he's still alive. And they actually went and intercepted the guy who was supposed to deliver the message less than a block away from the house, so that my wife's grandma didn't hear that he was dead, but heard that he had just been injured. And he was evacuated and eventually flown to Germany, where he recovered. And, you know, it was interesting. They say that there are no atheists in foxholes. And I can tell you that that was certainly true of my wife's grandfather. In that foxhole, he promised God that if he would save his life, that he would dedicate his life to helping people and to serving others and to doing whatever God wanted him to do if he made it out of there. And I'm pleased to tell you, he passed away several years ago, but he fulfilled that promise to his very dying day. He helped more people than anybody I've ever known, and I'm one of those people. And I'm so grateful for his service and for his sacrifice. And when I see the flag, I think of Duffy. I think of the life and the service that he led. Just today, I had an opportunity to go to Ogden to speak at Boys State. And just before me, let me just tell you, if you ever have to give a speech somewhere, never speak after the World War II veteran who just gave the best speech you've ever heard in your life. But 93-year-old guy, still with us, one of the strongest people I've ever met, just incredible, telling his stories of service in World War II. We have those heroes all around us right now. Yes, that was the greatest generation, but we've had several incredible generations since then. Do we have any veterans here with us today? If we do, would you please stand so we can pay tribute? We've got a couple of you guys back here. Several of you, thank you. Thank you. God bless you guys, and thank you for your service. I don't want to take much longer because we have so many other things to do, but I do want to say this. You know, our country's kind of divided right now, and everybody's kind of in their political corners, and we're all mad at each other and finding excuses to not like each other. I think we can do better. Now, people like to say it's as bad as it's ever been. It's not. We literally had a civil war where we killed each other. That was worse. All right, that was worse. I watched a documentary on the Vietnam War and the division that happened in the country, which was just horrible and terrible the way our veterans were treated at that time. We're not like that. Last year. And I had an experience that I never wanted. When I got asked to serve in this job, I'd been a mayor and a county commissioner, and I was a freshman in the House of Representatives, and those were part-time jobs, and I never wanted to be a politician full-time. I had a real job, and I didn't even like politicians. I don't even know why I was doing that, and now I am one, and I have to look myself in the mirror every day. But one of the things, you know, the governor asked me to do this. Our lieutenant governor had resigned, and just out of nowhere one day I get the call, and I'm still living in Fairview, and we almost told the governor no, and it's a long story I won't go into, but eventually we decided to do it. And so I commute 200 miles round trip every day, and well, let me back up because I do want to tell this. When the governor asked me to do this, it was I actually decided to tell him no, which was kind of crazy because if you're into politics at all, this was the best job in the world. You didn't have to run for it. You get to be the second highest elected official in the state. You know, it's amazing, and I wanted nothing to do with it. And I remember sitting on my porch there in Fairview on the farm that my great-great-great-grandfather settled over 160 years ago that we're farming today. And I knew it was a big cut in pay. I knew I was going to be commuting 200 miles round trip every day. And I looked at my 6-year-old daughter who got off the bus. She had this giant backpack on, and she was walking up the road to our house. And I just started crying. I said, I can't miss this. And I told my wife, I said, I think we're going to have to tell him no. And she said, okay, you can do that. But she said, 2 things I want you to think about. First of all, if you do that, you can never, ever, 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 ever criticize another politician ever again because you're not willing to do it. If you're not willing to do it, you can't be critical of anybody else. And I like to criticize, so I didn't want to do that. And second of all, she said, we have too many people that really, really want these jobs. We need some people that don't want these jobs for a while, so let's do it and see if we can help and make a difference. About 3 weeks into this, I was feeling really bad for myself. I was driving, I was tired, I'd had it. People call you names on Facebook, and you know, it was just the worst. And I got a call from the governor. He said, hey, I need you to go take something for me. I can't be there. I've had an emergency come up. We're sending some troops off to Afghanistan this morning. They're leaving to go. A medevac unit is heading to Afghanistan. I need you to go there for the send-off. And I'm like, sure, Governor, I'm happy to go. I went in there, and I sat down for this ceremony, and I watched these men and women in uniform saying goodbye to their husbands and wives and children and parents, and not knowing if they were coming back anytime soon. And 2 things happened. One, I've never been more proud to be an American than I was when I watched them get on those helicopters and take off. And 2, I promised I would never, ever, ever complain about serving my 200-mile commute. My wife knows I'm going to be home tonight, right? I mean, I might hit a deer, but that's the worst thing that's going to happen. I'm going to be home tonight. And for a year, these families had no idea what was going to happen. And it changed my whole perspective. And then something else happened last year. We got a call that one of ours was not going to make it home. Young man from Monticello, incredible family, great people, patriotic, special ops. This guy's he's a baddie. I mean, he's the best of the best, right? And they went into a house to try to get some bad guys out. Bomb went off, and he didn't make it. And he didn't make it home. Had a fiance, had an incredible life ahead of him, and went down there, met with his mom and dad, his fiance, his brothers, the one sister, and I was there for the funeral. And I got to tell you guys, again, you never look at the flag the same when you see that, and yet the spirit of patriotism that family had, they were so proud of him. That some of the best blood in this world and in our state had been spilled to help people thousands and thousands of miles away who didn't even appreciate the help that we were giving them. So I've said too much, I've taken up too much of your time, but my message today is please don't forget, right? Please don't forget. When you get a chance to salute that flag, salute with all your heart. And when you do that, let's remember these 4 or 5 guys that stood up today. Let's remember those who aren't coming home. Let's remember those who have sacrificed and served, and let's pledge to be better. Let's pledge to try to be closer, to be Americans first and Republicans and Democrats second or 5th or 10th or 30th, right? Because that's what really matters. That's what makes our country great. I end here. 240 years ago plus, our nation embarked on this grand experiment, right? A ragtag group of nobodies came together and defeated the greatest superpower in the world. under the direction of General George Washington. Now, I'm going to tell you something you may not know. At the time of the Revolutionary War, there were 13 colonies. You knew that, right? You probably don't know how many people lived in those 13 colonies at that time. Okay? There were about 3 million people in this country. It wasn't a country yet, but in those 13 colonies when George Washington led them into battle. Now, it just happens to be that there are about 3 million people in the state of Utah right now. That puts it into perspective a little bit. It was really a group of people the size of the state of Utah that took on that superpower, embarked on this grand experiment, and changed forever the course of human history. This concept that people had the power, not government. We had the power, and we choose to give it to people, and then we take it back. That was revolutionary. That had never happened before, and yet it happened here, and we've been doing it for 240 years. Now, I believe if 3 million people could change the course of history then, I believe we can do it again today. I believe Utah is a very, very special place. I hear that everywhere I go. We do care about our veterans here. We care about the flag here. We're very patriotic, and we care about each other. We lead the nation in charitable giving every year, and we lead the nation in volunteerism every year, and there isn't a close second. That's what makes Utah special. It's the people. Thank you for being those people. Thank you for keeping that dream and that hope and that vision alive. And God bless you as you continue to celebrate this very important Flag Day. Thank you.
God bless you too.